Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence is probably going to change your life.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence has become so advanced, it has now surpassed human performance on several basic tasks.
Godfather of artificial intelligence has quit his job at Google, warning of the dangers of AI.
Development of artificial intelligence is speeding up so quickly.
Why is it so dangerous, to give up power to something we don't understand?
Should we develop non-human minds smarter than our own?
The rapid and evolving advancement of AI, as we're all aware, has transformed the world.
There's still a lot of unanswered questions. We know that the landscape is changing quickly, but we want to make sure that we have the answers, the right answers.
It's so powerful. Like when it comes to like you go from like ideation to conception to execution so fast. I don't know that I fear it, especially since I'm using it more in a fine art context, but if I were a digital artist, yeah, I'd be afraid of it. I mean,
hi, my name is Pandora. I am a administrative assistant at the San Diego Zoo. I also do a lot of freelance graphic design work and personal projects on my day-to-day.
I'm Dylan Laird. So I'm a machine learning engineer at Landing AI.
My name is Joe Nalvin. I live up here in Poway, California. I've been living up here since 1989, but I was born in Brooklyn.
My creative process depends, I guess, on what I'm working on. If it's sort of just an outlet for myself to express, I kind of either go outside or kind of look at different types of artist inspirations. So a lot of my work revolves around like surrealism as well as nature. And if I'm doing like a design based on specific aspects of nature, I like to go outside and go look for that. Personally with AI, I'm not sure if I would be able to have that same emotion or like connection with it. But you know, I think it just depends on like how it's evolved over time.
I've exhibited photography, digital art, some of my fused glass work, because I like to work in mixed media as well. And more lately is using generative AI images, but going back to more traditional forms of printing, oftentimes on just metal. First of all, there are different ways to use AI. People tend to think of it as one particular framework or strategy or tactic, namely using words as a text prompt in a platform, and that would generate an image. But I realize that there is more that can be done. So that's one of the problems of talking about art and explaining it to the average person, because they may say, well, I could do that. I just push the button, which is not really true, but that's what they think, and that's the value that they attribute to, say, oftentimes to AI work.
In terms of authorship and originality and AI, I think there is a fine line. Obviously, it has always been kind of a fine line in terms of like art, on originality and how it's produced. There's certain things that you can do with AI and certain things you can't do with the AI. If you were to create like certain cultural like art forms to kind of like connect to a certain group of people, it might be better to like create it personally, since like it's not going to be the same if you were to just put it into that AI system.
I think initially people were very, and maybe still so scared of AI. It was seen as like a competitor in the art world. I actually think that's the wrong view of it. I think AI can do a lot of cool things, and it's very surprising what it's able to do. But one thing, AI is very limited in also a lot of ways in what it can do. I think humans have a we're trained on a lot of data, right? We've been living and observing things our whole lives. And B, we're also better at generalizing and doing more tasks than AI. So AI is going to have a hard time, and maybe you can do this now if you train it on enough data, but if you only train it on like cat images with 4 legs and you said, make a cat image with 5 legs, it probably couldn't do that. Now they can't, just because it's been trained on so many images, but the point is that they have a hard time generalizing. So because of these limitations and because it can only kind of do one thing, I think the way I view AI is more as a tool. Maybe it's creative in some sense. Creative is kind of like a broad term, but it's certainly, I wouldn't call it creative in the sense that you and I think of creativity. So they're very good at mimicking the world and memorizing the world. They're not very good at extrapolating beyond what they know and kind of inferring things. So that's where human creativity and sort of humans I think are still quite a lot more advanced than an AI system is.
A lot of artists may be able to utilize AI in a sense, just with like anything that's kind of new coming out. Like before, digital art wasn't always like looked upon in like a positive light, and over time it kind of changed. Like, oh, now it's like the new thing. So it's definitely something that can be worked with. An example of one of the projects I've been working on was this 2-part book series called An Asian American Experience and Identities Within Us. And so the design concept of the book sort of discusses the issues that are internal and external to the Asian American immigrants, as well as their descendants, as well as the ongoing identity crisis of Asian Americans of the 2nd and 3rd generation. And so a lot of the aspects within the book, for example, I kind of illustrate the 2 sides to being Asian American, like the more Americanized version, as well as like the more historically cultural part of their identity. This is just one of the many projects I've had based on like cultural identity as well as my own identity as an Asian American.
Art has a way of holding on to parts of our identity, capturing the struggles and emotions that define us. For my grandpa, his art became his voice, preserving the parts of himself that words could never quite reach. Each piece is a silent testament to his experiences, proof that true creation is more than just making something. It's about leaving a piece of yourself behind. And as I reflect on his legacy, I wonder about the future of art in a world where machines can generate images at will. Can an algorithm ever replicate the depth of feeling that drove my grandpa to create? Will future generations understand the stories woven into every piece, or will they be lost in the noise of synthetic images? Or could these technological tools, rather than replacing us, create a space where human creativity meets artificial innovation?
Okay, what we have here are 2 images that I've composed partly and some totally in generative AI. The one here of the single woman here is completely generative AI. Now, if you look at this other image over here, which is looks more kind of like clown faces, in fact, over these 2 people. This was started out as an actual photograph, and then I used stable diffusion to create related images to it, which I then blended back within Photoshop. This one of the 2 people is a hybrid image, where this one is completely generative AI. Question is, does it make a difference? If they're both compelling to you, should it make any difference however it was created?
As we move into this new era of art and technology, there's a part of me that fears we're at risk of losing something irreplaceable. But no matter how advanced technology becomes, I believe there will always be a place for the human touch, for the raw, unfiltered emotion that can only come from experience. Yet at the same time, AI has the potential to open up new ways of expressing our humanity and creativity. Could it blend our stories with new possibilities and perspectives? As we embrace these technological advances, we must continue to explore how they interact with the essence of what makes art truly human.